unmistakable legacy leaders. My name is Dr. Alencia Bowen, and I currently serve as the Dean of the Ross College of Business and the Executive Director for the Leadership Center. Today, we're so excited to have Julie Wilkes with us, and she'll be presenting on a wonderful topic that you will find very beneficial. Julie is a heart disease survivor. She believes that she was given a second chance at life. She believes that when she is helping others to live their healthiest life, she is paying forward on that gift. Julie owns 7 studios and is a North American well-being, resiliency, and disability lead for Accenture, a global Fortune 500 company. She is currently in the process of completing her PhD in industrial and organizational psychology. She has a master's from The Ohio State University in education, exercise physiology, and a bachelor's degree in international business from Marietta College. Julie is a certified yoga and Pilates instructor, as well as a certified life coach. She has won many awards for her work, including a Congressional Wellbeing Award from Congresswoman Joyce Beatty and the top health leader in the U.S. from the Employee Benefit News. Julie is a published author, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. Her entire focus is within health, well-being, mindfulness, and culture. Julie is a faculty presenter for a variety of well-being modules authored by Stanford University, Thrive Global, Potential Project, and Accenture. Julie appears monthly as the healthy lifestyle expert for Good Day Columbus and has been featured on the Carol Alt Show with Fox News, the Mary Lou Henner Show, and several other national news casts. She has spoken and presented across the globe, the Tower of London, the White House, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, TED Talks, Solutions at Work Live, various national health conferences, the National Business Group on Health, International Women's Day, and the U.S. Department of Defense. She was recently selected as one of 25 remarkable women from Role Model magazine and one of 12 women you should know in Central Ohio by the Women for Economic and Leadership Development, also known as WELD. Julie has been featured in numerous magazines, including Fitness Magazine, Columbus CEO, Weight Watchers Magazine, Fit Columbus Magazine, and others. Julie was selected as one of Fitness Magazine's top 10 champions of health and wellness, was named a 40 Under 40 award winner, Tech Columbus Innovation and Award finalist, one of 100 Buckeyes You Should Know. Julie has also authored a well-being program to help the incarcerated reroute their life and has been rolling this concept out to jails and prisons for over 5 years. This morning, we're excited that Julie is with us to talk about how we as women can continuously thrive even when we have setbacks. Everyone, please welcome Julie, and please know that if you have questions that you would like to ask, please place them in the chat, and we will ask them at the end of her session. Julie.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Bowen, and thank you everyone for joining our call today. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here with you and to share some energy with you on a topic that maybe not be quite what you always hear individuals talk about. I really wanted to focus on when we called it make your setbacks your setups for success. I'll be more direct and say I really am keen about talking about failing and failing big and getting it out of the way and moving forward. I think that when we think about these areas, it's easy for us to look at leaders or people who have accomplished the things that we aspire to, and we really want to learn their path. And often those individuals will tell you all of the great things they did and all of the great opportunities that came their way to create that path. And it is my hope that this talk today not only inspires you to not to not only share the good, but also to share the vulnerable and the difficult, but to especially be keen on asking those who you aspire to, follow, or that you'd like to learn from, about their failures as well. Because I find that along my journey, my failures were probably what allowed me to take the greatest steps forward. And I also think that our mindset should be something where I think oftentimes we create our plan for success, but we leave out the opportunity to fail. And so I'm going to talk a little bit today about how to design, using 5 simple steps, how to really set yourself up for your greatest level of success by welcoming some setbacks and welcoming some failures, and allowing you to handle them with grace, and allowing you to see them as something good versus something that's getting in your way. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share a little presentation I've put together. And I'm going to be offering 5 secrets today to shift challenges and overcome any obstacle. And that lengthy introduction was probably all that was needed. I loved it. But just to give you maybe something that wasn't mentioned in that you may hear today on the call, is I am a dog mom. And so I just ask for your grace if a dog wants to be a part of the show today. Okay, sometimes they'll add a little bark here or there, and I just figured that means that they wanted to contribute. So I am a heart disease survivor, which is, I think, something that really put the foundation on my feet to really want to kind of thrive in my career. I realized when, at a very young age, I was actually born with a congenital heart defect so severe the doctors pronounced me dead at birth. The doctor said I would never live long. And throughout my life, I've exceeded any prediction that was given to me. From the doctor said I would be stillborn, to only live a few minutes, to only live to be 3, to 12, to 20, to 24, to 30, to 40. These are all predictions that were made around my health and longevity. And today at 47, I can say that I just recently had an EKG, and the doctors have said my heart is nearly perfect, and that they don't see any signs of the damage that I was born with. And not only that, but in the past 3 years, that my heart has significantly healed itself more. 3 years ago, there was still damage on the heart that was able to be viewed, and as of today, the damage is healed. And so why do I bring that up? Well, I would say that the last few years have been probably some of the hardest that I've experienced. Perhaps you could say the same. As we're recording this live, is 3 years ago, for the last 3 years or so, we've gone through something that we've never experienced before in our lives, and that has been a global pandemic. We've had uncertainty, we've had challenges, we have change, we've had business losses, we've had shifts in the way we do everything, from go to work to go to the grocery store. So our whole lives have been flipped upside down and turned right side up. And so the reason I share all that with you is that even though the last few years may have been some of the most challenging, I will dare say that the last few years, if my heart was able to heal so significantly during that time, I believe something incredible has been happening over the past few years. And it is during these times of challenge, and I'll say failure, I've had plenty of failures over the past few years, that there has been the greatest leaps of growth and of success. And so I look forward to sharing some of that with you today. And so with that, I'm going to come right into an introduction. I always like, as I mentioned, I love hearing how somebody successful got there. I love hearing that exciting story. But what I really love is when I hear that somebody who I admire had some challenges, not because I delight in the failure, but because it makes me be able to relate to them better. Because it's easy to look at somebody who appears to have everything and think, wow, if only I could have followed that path. But then when you get back and peel back the layers, I would say that anybody who has success had failure, but they knew some of these secrets that I'm going to share with you today. And I want you to look at the setbacks of your life as that opportunity of the universe to be whispering to you, keep going, you've got this. So there's a lot of font on this slide, a lot of text. I'm going to just give you my version, but you can also read over it if you will. I try to just pull some different folks who people may look up to in one way or another. and tell you very briefly some of the things that people that are well known that have some pretty big success went through. Sidney Poitier was told by a casting director that who's a famous actor, a beautiful actor, known for so many different things in his career. He was told by a casting director to stop wasting people's time and become a dishwasher or something. That would have been tragic if he had listened to that advice because of the great work that he accomplished in his career. Jim Carrey was booed off his first stage in the comedy club, tried out for Saturday Night Live, and was told no. Katy Perry dropped out of high school to become a singer, but she signed with 3 different labels who dropped her, and she had to spend 7 years before she actually had a first hit. Now, Oprah, I know many of you probably have heard Oprah's story, but I actually learned something new as I was doing a little research for today. Oprah, as you may have already heard, she grew up with a really, really difficult childhood between abuse and poverty and other things, which is already a sensational story of what she's become. But did you know that Oprah was fired from her job, her first television job? She was told she was unfit for TV. And then she got hired in Chicago's lowest rated radio station, was an AM station, the lowest rated one to come in and be a talk show host. Oprah was able to take that lowest rated show that nobody listened to and have ratings that exceeded at the time somebody named Donahue, who was the most listened to person on the radio. Pretty sensational that she was able to do that. Imagine coming in as sort of that underdog, if you will, and shining. J.K. Rowling, all of the great works that she's done between her books and that became the movies and so forth. She was penniless, jobless, just divorced, depressed, homeless, and she had been writing her book for years, but never thought that anybody really would want to read it. She had two chapters written when she became divorced. She eventually was able to sell her work for $1,500, and the book company that bought it only made 1,000 copies, thinking that that would be probably more than she'd ever sell. Now, of course, today we know she's made over $400 million with all of her different books and movies and so forth. So Walt Disney, he was told he had no imagination and no good ideas. He actually filed bankruptcy after his first animation studio failed. Stephen King, his first book was Carrie. You may be familiar with that movie or the book. He positioned it to 30 different publishers who all rejected him. He threw it in the trash can. It was his wife who pulled it out of the trash can and sent it in again, in which he was able to finally get somebody to sign on. And now his books have brought in $350 million, over 50 novels he's written. Colonel Sanders from Kentucky Fried Chicken. This gentleman didn't realize his direction until he was in his 50s, and he really had this passion to bring this fried chicken recipe to the world. He pitched it to over 1,000 restaurants and was told no. He went to banks, couldn't get the funding. He had $105. Now, back then, it was probably a little bit more money than it is today, but had $105 from a Social Security check that he used to finance himself. He worked as a tire salesman, insurance salesman, a fireman, did odd jobs. And he just kept taking his concept and he started going door to door to try to sell his product because he believed in it. Jay-Z, he grew up in poverty. He tried every single label. He said that he even tried the labels that he never heard of, he didn't know about. He tried every label. He was told no over and over and over again. So he decided to start his own. But even when Jay-Z started his own label and started to have success, he ended up going through challenges where he was potentially, got in trouble with the law and had all these different things that he had to overcome, perceptions that he made some mistakes, he made some errors, and he had to bounce back from those things, and he had to move himself forward. So why do I tell you all of these things? Well, these might be people, some of these people you may look up to, maybe you don't, but these are all people who have achieved some level of success in their own careers. And I find it completely exhilarating to know that it wasn't just this straight shot to the top for them. That there's something that is prominent with all of these individuals. And that was their belief in themselves and their desire to continue even when it got hard. Right? I think there's a saying, life is tough, but so are you, right? So when things get difficult, it's really easy for us to have developed this mindset of, well, I'm just going to pack my ball up and go home. I don't want to play in this game. This is too hard. This is what I expected. So life coach Tony Robbins, you may or may not be familiar with him. He's been in the industry for 30 plus years, coached millions and millions of people, but significantly coached people like LeBron James and different presidents, different individuals who have achieved a level of success. One of the things that Tony says is where we get it wrong is that when we imagine our career, when we imagine our journey line, we just picture ourselves doing the work and achieving the results. And it's completely wrong. Yes, we probably were taught if you work hard, you can do anything. And I do believe that. But we also have to know that as we continue to progress, there will always be things that make us step back and question ourselves, that will make us step back and question if we really want this. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to get into these 5 secrets. So I like to first of all bring up that if you've ever heard of a limiting belief is something that has become a truth of yours that is actually not true. But somewhere something happened in your life that made you believe this was true. And now it's become sort of the way that you explain things when maybe you aren't successful, or maybe it's your excuse for getting, not doing what you want to do. Other people may call it different things. So I look back at my life, and at 47 now, I look back and I would say that only in the past 10 years have I truly found what I would say is some sort of monumental success. Prior to 10 years ago, I had a lot of really great ideas. I was a dreamer. I could imagine the most amazing things, but I couldn't get them through execution. Like I could bring them to the starting line, but I never crossed the finish line. In fact, I'll give you some examples. I had this really cool idea when President Obama was in office for what I wanted to do with North America, or with the US, especially with health and well-being. And I thought that it'd be something that could be implemented and that Michelle Obama would love it. So I hired a production company. I spent a day in studio recording this elaborate video of my idea, and I boxed it up, and I made one for him. I made one for Oprah. I thought she could put it on her Soulful Sunday. And I don't know if you can guess what I did with it. So I spent all this money. I took all this time. I had this idea, and it's still sitting on my shelf today. I never sent it. I started writing a book about my life journey and my stories. 3 years of writing this book, and I kept deleting it, putting it in the trash, so I couldn't even recover it. 3 years of work, I deleted. So I don't know if any of you can relate to any of this. Sometimes you have these ideas, but sometimes it's hard to execute on them. And so I really had to go back and figure out, well, what's getting in my way? And so this was my limiting belief. And I think each one of you may have one, at least one. But I'm going to be very vulnerable with you for a minute. And for me, this is very freeing to talk about. But it may cause you to feel uncomfortable. And I hope that's okay with you today. So when I started looking about, well, why is it that I'm not allowing myself, I have these ideas, I'm smart, I'm talented, I can do this stuff, but I'm not doing this stuff. I'm playing small in my life. I realized that somewhere in my head, I had created this limiting belief that maybe I wasn't good enough to do this stuff. And I wouldn't say that consciously I would have said that that was my truth, but I was acting that way because I had these ideas, but I didn't put them in the mail. All I had to do was put that in the mail. All I had to do was put my book into the mail to a publisher, see what they said. But I didn't even give myself that opportunity because I didn't want to be rejected. Because I didn't want to be told again that I wasn't good enough. I would rather just have put it out there and just never actually had to feel that way again. And I realized, if I look back at my life, I told you I was born with a heart defect that was very severe. I was actually stillborn. The doctors pronounced me dead at birth. Well, my father heard that I was not going to be able to thrive. And so he decided to not get to know me. And so I never met my dad, really. And so my dad left my mom, and my mom raised me as a single mother. And I wouldn't say to you that consciously that this was my truth, but somewhere I realized that I lived for a long time thinking that because of that, I wasn't good enough. And I kept trying to have all these achievements. And I kept wondering, well, what do these achievements really mean? And I really figured as I was peeling back the layers of my life that these achievements were me trying to prove to my dad that I was good enough. But none of them ever actually amounted to anything that made me feel good enough. It took a mindset of realizing that I had a powerful voice, that I had a brain that had some good ideas in it, and that me playing small didn't benefit anyone. So it was at the age of 36 that I realized that idea about limiting beliefs and that I was actually the one that was in my own way. And all I had to do was have that paradigm shift. And when I did, and I said, maybe somebody would want to read about my life. I don't know if my ideas are the right ones for Oprah or for President Obama, but they couldn't hurt. Just to see what happens. And maybe those aren't the folks that pick it up, but maybe somebody else will, because we always create ripple effects when we put our energy out there. And so when I decided to change my mindset and to go after those things and to recognize that failure was going to be a part of the package, that when I got a failed thing, I can't go back and revisit these ideas of not being good enough and maybe I shouldn't try anymore, but that I should expect that the failure was on the way. And if it is, and that means I'm trying, and that means I need to keep going. But I had to have this crystal clear belief in what I was doing and what I wanted to do. And so from there, I was able to publish my first book. I sent it off to the publisher within a week, received a cash advance and a promise of full publishing and I was an unknown author. I was able to win a business plan writing contest that allowed me to take my business and create a brick and mortar, of which I never had intended to do. I received a $30,000 scholarship from the business plan writing contest that provided marketing and free rent. I was able to create a position in a Fortune 100 company to lead well-being for 70,000 employees that had never been created before. And I was able to do a lot of other things that I never thought that I could. And it was that one simple thing of getting that clarity, expecting the failure, and not labeling it as not being good enough, but labeling it as part of the territory of moving forward with success. So I want to give you those 5 simple tips or secrets that I used as I sort of shifted myself from living in this space of having ideas that could never get brought to fruition and packing my ball up and going home when I hit something hard, into really living and really playing big. So I love this quote from Richard Branson. Treat failure as a lesson on how not to approach achieving a goal, and use that learning to improve your chances of success when you try again. Failure is only the end if you decide to stop. All right, so here we go. So here's some 5 things that I want to talk to you about today. And then I'm going to ask you to sort of give me some of your thoughts too. So the first thing is, whenever we look at failure, I want you to be able to create some techniques for yourself to manage those moments. So let's say, and I want you to think about this for you today. Whatever you are doing today, what are the possibilities that your lead or your boss could tell you that you messed up on something? Or maybe you applied for something and you don't get it. Or maybe you just goof up, right? Whatever it is. I want you to think about everything I'm talking about today in the views of how you live and what's realistic and relevant for your life. So whatever is going to come your way today, small or big, we have to design what I'll call our blueprint for managing the moments. So that means that when you get news you weren't expecting, you don't pack your ball up and go home. It means you adopt one of these things that helps you to stay the course. Because here's what happens in our brain. Today, I was minding my own business, doing my job, working hard, and I get a phone call that my project's been cut, my budget's been cut. I need to be, if I want to continue, I have to do it at my, on my own, or I have to do so right now, what happens in my brain? I'm panicked. It wasn't what I planned. And so what happens when that happens, in the back of your head is the amygdala sitting behind the eyes. The amygdala receives every first input of life, right? So anything that happens, from the temperature around you to the sounds you hear to the information you receive to whatever you see, the amygdala is the first to receive it. And it says, is this a threat to my human being? If yes, then it will shut down all of the function of the brain. It will not allow you to go through memory, your emotions, anything that could give you some insight to how to handle it, all the way up through your prefrontal cortex to executive decision making. It will just say, decide the best thing to do in this moment, which bursts out all the adrenaline and cortisol in the brain, makes us be reactive and probably not deal with things in the way that makes us feel good and causes us to feel anxious, then resulting in depression and other things. So why I feel so strongly is I want you to know every single day that something is going to come into your world that you weren't expecting. And we don't have to label it as a failure or a setback or anything else except for, okay, the first thing I need to do is get myself centered. So I've got some ideas here: a box breath, having a mantra, or creating movement. And let me just tell you a few of these things. You may find your own things, but these are some of the things I do whenever I'm trying to focus on managing a moment. I get that phone call I didn't want. I find out that I applied for a grant that I didn't receive. I find out that my business this month didn't make the money I projected, whatever it might be. Before reacting, getting yourself centered so that you can manage that next moment. Box breathing, if you've never done it, it's a 4-count breath in, a 4-count hold, a 4-count breath out, a 4-count hold. It's a way to control your breath, and it's a way to control your thoughts coming into your mind. It was first developed by Navy SEALs when they are on critical missions where they couldn't pause if whatever they were told wasn't right and they had to go do something, and now they can't say, oh, well, that door wasn't there, so I guess I'll just go back to base and try again. No, they have to continue to stay, and they can't pause for a second or their life or someone's life could be in danger. They have to be able to stay the course, make great decisions, and not let that moment fluster them. So we can learn a lot from that kind of training. And box breathing is something that was then given to firefighters to do the exact same thing. And then it was given to us everyday folks to handle the everyday things in our life. So science tells us 3 sets of box breath can decrease our stress hormones and allow us to kind of reset for a moment in that moment of panic. 10 if we're really having a day. So let's just try one together so you get a sense of what it feels like. Take a breath in for 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, and hold 2, 3, and 4. It just makes this box shape. I always feel like I'm a conductor when I'm teaching these in a meditation class. So, but that box breathing, it's not just a thing in your head. It's actually a thing in your head where we're creating the right response of dopamine and serotonin and the breath work and getting the clarity. The next thing can be if you have a mantra that helps you. What happens is if you start to fail or you start to have something that goes wrong, the brain can be pretty noisy. I can't believe that happened. How could I have made that happen? I'm just a failure. I just can't do this. I don't know why I thought I could do this. The brain will tell you all those things. But if you can put something else in the way of those things to stop the brain from having that chatter, something like, I've got this. I can do hard things. I got this is the thing I say all the time, and I'll just repeat it so I don't give room for that brain to say anything else. You know, if you're familiar with Mel Brown, is that right? Mel Brown. So her 5-second. Mel Brown is an author who she was able to overcome alcoholism, divorce, loneliness, losing her kids, lots of things that happened in her life. She was really at a low point. And what she found, and she found the science behind it, is one day she was laying in bed. She wanted to get out of bed. She was really depressed. And she saw a TV commercial that showed a rocket launching. And they counted back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And she said, tomorrow I'm going to get out of bed like that. And the next morning, she counted back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she got out of bed. And what she started doing is she started to find that if she could just get in the way of her brain talking herself out of it, she was able to do things. So she started working with researchers, and they found that when you can get your brain to be doing something to not talk yourself out of it, whether it's a mantra, whether you do a countdown, whatever it is, you have a certain amount of time where your brain will talk you out of any one thing or will start putting you down. Because ever since primal times, our brain has been wired to detect threats more so than to detect good things. Because back thousands of years ago when we had to protect ourselves from the climate and from animals and from other things, all our brain was looking for were the threats. And even though that's not true for us today, our brain is still wired to pull those threats in. So we have to wire that brain to start thinking about the good things and that we do have this. And so finding that mantra, and the minute that you start to hear yourself saying, what am I thinking? Why I can't do this? I'm so frustrated. What am I going to do? I'm panicked. I've got this. I've got this. I've got this. And do that for a minute until you subside those thoughts and you get on your way with it. The other thing is simply by standing up, if you've been sitting for a while and maybe you got a negative email at work or you've been frustrated by something or whatever it is, if you stay seated, you very rarely will move the chemicals in your brain away from those stress hormones. But simply in standing up for 30 seconds, science will tell us that you shift to serotonin and dopamine in the brain and pull back on that adrenaline and cortisol that was spiking because of the stress. And so even if you can't go run a lap around your house, maybe you need to stay on this conference call, but you're getting very stressed and you're frustrated and people are throwing you under the theoretical bus and you're trying to not panic, stand up. Stand up. Take some breath in. If you can add movement, even stretching, if you can walk around your house, if you can walk around your block, you're going to double, triple the amount of serotonin and dopamine coming in your brain and help you to see that next best movement instead of the limit, help you to start seeing those possibilities again. Okay, so I want you to think about number one, managing that moment, managing those micro times, those acute times when something comes in and gets in your way, because if you can manage the acute, you'll start to manage the chronic. Instead of looking back and saying, well, I look back at the last 10 years and I pretty much bowed out of anything where I failed. Now, in those daily increments where something went wrong, you handled it with grace. You kept your heart and head high, moved yourself forward, and then that accumulation allows you to move that forward. The second thing is, what did you learn? I love this. Evaluate and evolve and decide if you still love what you're focused on. But you have to be so clear on what you want. And I will tell you that during COVID, so 7 Studios is my fitness and yoga studio that I started 10 years ago. It was voted many years as Columbus's favorite studio. We won all these awards. We never worried about having people come in. I feel very lucky as a business owner. I guess I just realized when I opened the doors, people just came in and I thought that's the way it worked. And then I was humbled because during COVID, nobody came in our doors. Even when we reopened, we were in a part of a part of town where people had stopped going because of the COVID restrictions. We literally would be open every day. And if we'd see one person, that would be it. And then they wouldn't want to come back because they were like, what's wrong with the studio that nobody's here? And I was so angry. I was so angry because here, this beautiful thing that we had built, this community where all we wanted to do was help people. It felt like a huge failure. And I kept every day going back and trying some of these things and resetting my mind and showing up and believing in it and getting my instructors fired up and still paying all my bills and paying my instructors. And the money wasn't coming in, but I kept believing in it. And I kept thinking, if you build it, they will come, keep going. And it didn't for 2 years. And I started to get very angry at my dream. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this before. I got angry at my dream. I was looking around and other people were being successful and I was failing. I was like failing the worst kind. I was starting to have worries about paying my bills. I was worrying about if I could even stay afloat one more day at times. And I decided maybe this was the universe telling me to move on. Maybe it's time to pack my ball up and go. And so I decided to depart from teaching and doing anything fitness oriented for 3 months to see how my life felt. I couldn't go a month or before I was absolutely miserable. And I decided at that point that I would never, ever be able to let go of my dream. Because even if it didn't go the way I thought, living into it and failing every day and continuing to reevaluate was more powerful for me than letting go of the dream. But I had to decide that for myself. And once I made that decision and I anchored in, all of a sudden the doors started to open for me. It was almost like I had to prove to myself I was willing to put the grit into it. So just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean that it's not going to. Sometimes the universe will ask, what did you learn, and do you still love it? Are you willing to give what you've got to make this happen for yourself? Have more than one measure for your success. If it's just money, you'll probably feel like a failure sometimes. Because the charts that go like this, I don't know whose charts do that. I mean, someone's does, but even look at, businesses, look at what happened during the pandemic. Who was it? There was a fitness company that did very well. Peloton. Right place, right time. Virtual fitness. They could not sell those bikes fast enough. They were sold out. It was months before you could get one because just people needed their fitness because we couldn't get back into the studios. Right place, right time. But guess what happened? As soon as people started being able to go back and to work out, they dropped. They almost, went super far under because the fact that they had to then evaluate and evolve again, because now people didn't want it at home as much. Now they needed a hybrid system and they had to go with that flow. So you always have to have more than a measure. Maybe it's engagement, maybe it's financial, but looking at different ways that you can measure what your success means to you. Because some days, if I look, and today I didn't bring in the money I wanted to in the studio, but we still had a packed house, or we still had a couple people who told me that their life changed forever because of being able to come to the space, well, then that's the other measure I'm looking for. The other thing is reframing. Any of you ever miss an exit and you're late? And now what do you say to yourself? I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that. Now I'm going to be late. Now I'm stressed. Now I'm angry, hit my steering wheel, probably drive, not so nice, maybe cut somebody off. All of this because you missed your exit. You told yourself you're a bad human now. Maybe that could be your truth. But the other truth is maybe you were supposed to go a different way. Maybe you were supposed to see something different that day. Or maybe you were supposed to arrive right when you were meant to. But the thing is, you're going to walk in that door the same time, whether you're disheveled, angry, and frustrated, or you're calm, cool, and collected. So you have to decide how you're going to manage that moment. Go back to number one and reframe the situation. Okay, so great. I'm going to be 5 minutes late. I'm disappointed, but I'm still going to walk in that door. Reframe every situation, not to be sugarcoating yourself, but to be the best in that moment. And the last thing, as I mentioned, as Tony Robbins says all the time in his advice, build failure into your plan. It's not like you're saying, okay, in week 3, I'm going to fail. But when something doesn't, I'm going to create this forecast, this plan for what I want to do in my life. But if this doesn't happen, then X, Y, or Z, then I have something else. Okay, so if that doesn't happen on that day, and even if it's just your fitness program, let's say that you just want to adopt 3 days a week of exercise and you missed a day. If you deem that as a failure, you might just quit the whole thing. But if you have a backup plan, okay, so that didn't work, so I have this, or I'm going to call upon these people to help me, or I'm going to go do a focus group to figure out maybe I didn't know my people the way I thought I did. I need to get some better insights. Build that when something doesn't go the way you have, that you have a plan for how you're going to keep moving it forward. If you get stuck in what you thought it was going to be, you're going to miss the whole thing. You have to have that vision for what you think your goals are, your plan is, your business is, or whatever it is that you plan to do. But you also have to be able to be nimble and agile enough to navigate through uncertainty and have the courage to believe in it, even when you don't see how it's going to go. So the last thing I want to say, and then I want to kind of turn it over for a couple of questions here, is, so how do we do all these things? So those are 5 things we can do. Well, we can't do those if we are not taking care of ourselves first. And I believe that you can only drink from a full glass. You cannot drink from a glass half full or empty glass, because you're not going to be able to give to others. So when you drink from a full glass and you give away your energies, it's because you are fully whole yourself. Here are some things that I believe in. Maybe you have some other things that create your own magic formula for drinking from a full glass. Affirmations every morning. I start off every day at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., and I write 5 affirmations for the day. I say them for 10 minutes as I'm walking or moving or whatever I'm stretching. Planting those seeds in my head. Movement, 150 minutes a week, however you want to get it. 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, 10 minutes a day, 2 times a day, whatever you want to get, getting your body, getting that circulation going, getting that serotonin and dopamine pumping into the brain. Nourish yourself. Did you know that your food, that the gut is the most closely related organ to the brain? So whatever you're putting in your gut, it will determine the chemicals that your brain are creating. So it does matter what you eat. And if you're bringing in foods that are inflammatory, your body is going to feel like it's rejecting all of your thoughts. And so being very careful about the kind of foods you put in, studying, learning how to put more foods in your body that are not going to create inflammation in the body, they'll help you to feel better just as you're sitting here, and will help you to fine tune your nervous system. A couple other things. Sleep. They do say that those who can sleep consistently 7 to 8 hours a day are going to manage their weight better, create the proper regulation of their chemicals in their brain better, be able to navigate stress better, and overall feel better. And forgive. The biggest thing, and this is what I want to leave you all with today, and if we have time, we'll take some questions, but what I want to leave you with today is this is something I feel like we all carry. And I'll just give you the example of in the form of a pet. So about 5-6 years ago, I saw this posting from a veterinarian in Columbus, Ohio, who said, help us give Piper her bucket list, because nobody wants to adopt her. She's blind, she's deaf, she can't walk well, she has no teeth. Nobody knows how to adopt a dog like this, but she only has a few months to live, so let's give her a bucket list. Well, I heard myself say, I'll adopt her. And I was like, what am I doing? I already have 2 dogs. But I just felt like I wanted to, but I said, listen, I'm going to take her to my house, but if she's angry or violent, I'm going to have to bring her back, because I can't put that in front of my dogs. But see, the thing is, she was stolen out of someone's yard and put in a crate for 8 years, beaten, neglected, abused, and starved. They found her at 4 pounds. She's supposed to be 20. She lived a horrible life for 8 years. Nobody would blame her for being angry. Nobody would blame her for not trusting a single soul around her. And nobody would blame her for being like a food guarder or a resource guarder, because she had had everything taken from her. But you see, when I brought that little dog in my house, that dog had not 1 ounce of anger. Somehow that dog knew more than probably most of us know. All she knew was love. She was so grateful. She did a dance every day when I'd bring her food. She taught my other dogs how to be a better dog. She was the sweetest angel that I've ever met. And you know, that dog ended up living 4 years. Supposed to live 3 months, but that's pretty amazing what love can do. But what she taught me was that life can be very, very hard, and it can harden our hearts to the point where we limit ourselves from future things because we don't ever want to get hurt again, or we don't ever want to have that failure again, or we don't want to trust people again because they messed up the opportunity for us, or they made us feel bad, or they laid us off, or they told us we weren't qualified, or they told us we were unfit for television, or whatever they will tell us. And we can hold a lot of anger about that. And it can keep us from living into our gifts and living into our dreams. And to me, that would be the greatest tragedy if you let that happen. So Piper was her name, reminded me to every day focus on softening your heart. And when you forgive, it's not that you're making something okay in your life. It simply means you're choosing to no longer carry that burden. That's no longer your truth. Maybe you were laid off and somewhere in the back of your head, you think, I don't know if I can do this. Somebody else didn't believe in me. Maybe others won't believe in me. You've got to just let go of that. You've got to move on and say, I was given the opportunity to open a different door. You've got to move on to not let somebody who's told you in the past you couldn't do anything create your truth. But you've also got to not wish ill will for them and just be so focused on the amazing life and the gifts and the greatness you're meant to inspire the world with that you have no time for the other things. And so I encourage people to be a Piper, soften your heart. So my next steps for you, maybe things I said today resonated with you, but maybe you thought of your own things as I was speaking. So my challenge to you is think about the 3 things that you can do that will help you to manage the next setback you have. I want you to write them down. When you write them down, you make them more clear for yourself. If you just say it in your head, you're going to forget it. I want you to tell someone about it, because when you tell someone about it, that now means that you not only understood it when you wrote it, but you can now teach someone else about it. And that creates an imprint of your brain of a greater likelihood of habit. Practice these things when it's easy. Practice your box breathing every day when you're not stressed, because then it becomes authentic when you do have a setback. But if you only practice box breathing when you have a setback or you have a failure, it will not feel authentic, and you'll be like, no, this doesn't work at all. because you've not trained your body that this is what you do. Practice your things, your 3 things when it's easy, and it will become your DNA when it's hard. So with that, I don't know if we have time for questions, but I would love to take any questions. And yep, I see some of the comments there. Self-preservation is real. Yeah, thank you. Let's see what questions you have or anything anybody wants to share. So let's see what we've got coming in.
Very great job. Very great job. You touched on a lot of things and you created opportunities for us to reflect and to take action. Please definitely post your questions or comments in the chat, and we can go from there.
Yes, and I want to thank the person. I think I said Mel Brown, Mel Robbins. So Mel Robbins is the author, if you look for that 5-second rule on getting your brain so busy that you don't talk yourself out of something.
Great. I'll give a few more moments. Great. I agree, Boyce. This was a great session. We were asked the question if the slide deck will be made available. We will, if Julie's shaking her head, yes, we can make the slide deck available. Please know that the recording will be available in the Franklin University Leadership Center area within the next couple of weeks. We'll do our ADA compliance, and then also we will, for all of those that attended today, we will send the slide deck out as well. All right, we thank you all for attending. You see all the great comments. There's a question, I think, that plopped in there. Give me just a moment. We'll scroll back up here.
I see Primrose.
Yes.
When do you know that one?
Yes. When do you know to let go despite trying to deal with setbacks?
Well, so first of all, I would say that that's a really tough one because each situation can be personal. And so I think your question, Primrose, is how do you know when to move? Like just to say, I'm no longer interested in this. So let's clarify so I know what you're asking. When do you know to let go? Does that mean to give up or?
Yeah. Well, I can clarify, and thank you for a great presentation. Sometimes in life, you have to know when to let go. So you've tried, to set up for all the setbacks, but you're just going to keep hitting a brick wall. So how would you know how many times I've tried to deal with a setback? Is it how long I've tried to deal with a setback? Or is it intuitive to say, hey, I've tried and this is time to let go?
That's a great question. I would invite others to share their wisdom and insight as well. What I can say with that is I think each situation is unique, but whenever I get to that point where I feel I have a brick wall, I felt that way when my business was failing for 2 straight years, and I thought I just can't do this anymore. And I thought that I might have fallen out of love with the dream. And I realized I hadn't fallen out of love with the dream. I let it go for a while to see how I felt. And I realized that I still had the dream and my heart would never let me forget that dream. But what I had to do is then restructure the way I was going about it, because what I was doing was not being successful. So I had to humble myself, go back to basics, ask a lot of people for advice, learn from others, and try something new. So I think, though, that sometimes it might be letting it go for a while so that you can come back and see it with new eyes. I think about Diana Nyad. She was the first woman to swim from Cuba to Florida. She tried and failed for like 20 years. So she quit for 20 years. And then she got inspired again and went back, and she was finally able to do it. Sometimes we do have to just take a few steps back to refocus. And sometimes some new dream will come into our heart, and we realize that the reason the one didn't work out was because we were meant to achieve this other one. And sometimes the old dream will be there, but we've had to learn a different way to go about it. So I would say that, if you feel you've hit a brick wall, the first thing I would do is take a step back, take an exhale, but bring people in to help you. Ask people for either their opinions, their advice, let them know you're struggling and they would love to kind of, there's so many different resources out there depending upon what this is. If it's a business, there's so many free business resources out there that can help you restructure a business plan, or even going to a coach and asking for a session on rerouting. So I would say that don't ever give up on the dream, but sometimes take a step back, take an exhale, and maybe we have to recalibrate how we're looking at it or what we're doing to try to accomplish it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I like that word, recalibrate. There's a request that for you to go over the breathing exercise again, the 4.
Oh, great. Yeah, so this is box breathing, and it's a 4-count breath in, 4-count breath hold, 4-count breath out, 4-count breath hold. Let's do it 3 times together so we can kind of feel it. So we'll take an inhale for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, and 4. Exhale 2, 3, and 4, and hold 2, 3, and 4. Inhale 2, 3, and 4, and hold 2, 3, and 4. Exhale 2, 3, and 4, and hold. Last time. Inhale 1, 2, 3, and 4, and hold 3 and 4. Exhale 2, 3, and 4, and hold 2, 3, and 4. Coming back to a natural breath now. It just helps us to control our breath, drive oxygen into the brain, settle back some of the tension in the body. And when you exhale, see if you can feel that body physically releasing some of that physical tension you hold on to. Physical tension creates mental tension. Mental tension creates physical tension. They are partners in crime. So if we can release them, we'll do. If we can release our physical body, release our mental stress, release our mental mind, our physical body will follow suit as well.
Thank you. Annette asked the question, how did you find the resources you use today, and how do you find support as you move forward?
Well, the resources, those are kind of I'm a life coach. I've written books. I have theories on things. I think it's just my collection of experiences over time of watching my clients succeed, studying. My background is in organizational psychology, understanding behaviors. I'm very big into habits, understanding the brain. I've gotten a lot of training in brain health and habit loops and things like this. So it's been out of my own desire of education and helping my clients to be the most successful. And it translates into helping me to kind of create my own structure for how to handle the tough stuff. And then I bring in my own stories to share with you, to say I'm not just somebody who's read it from a book and is trying to share a study from a book, but trying to bring it to real life to say that this stuff has worked in my life and other people's lives.
Thank you. Annette, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so I wanted to clarify the question. Sorry. My degree is in the same, so awesome. I'm really somebody who is the same way. And I think that a lot of what you spoke to really resonated with me because I've been on that journey as well. I think for me, it's like once I made that decision to move forward, it's like, where do I start? Where do I even begin? Who do I connect with? Those resources. So it's just in that form of thought, like, okay, now I know that I have it and I'm capable and I'm ready and I'm gung ho, but like, okay, where do I start? So I'm just curious as to like, what are some of those strategies that people could do that, to approach once they're ready?
Yeah. Well, I would say that so I know how I coach my folks that I work with when we do, goal realization. We look back at a timeline. So maybe you want to achieve a degree in the next year. So it's 12 months. So we look at what is the ultimate vision for that and what's that timeline. Then we break that into half. So what does that look like 6 months from now? And we create sort of a vision for what are the deliverables, what are the things, what are the achievements that might need to be there. Then we break that in half again. What's in 3 months? What would I need to start doing to get to that point? Then we break that again into 1 month. And then we break it into 1 week. And then we break it into today. And so what I like to do is really take these big dreams and break them into these fun-sized pieces where we know, like, so I may not have my PhD today, but I can see it a year from now. And today I'm going to enroll in this course, so I think it's like really, it's having the big vision, but it's being able to have some sort of methodical way that you step back and sort of craft the smaller achievements that accumulate into the bigger things. But I would say that the greatest gift you could give yourself is to either have a coach or somebody who's has a similar set of goals that you do, or doing similar things that you can help each other, I just truly believe we are better together. And sometimes having that different perspective can just help you to kind of know, where do you launch? I always say, have a plan. That plan can evolve and shift, but kind of put it on paper, write out what your goals are. What does it look like? What are those first few things that you're going to do? And then have a way that you're checking in with yourself. And that's why I say coaches are so valuable, is because they can allow you to stay accountable too. But I would just say, create that plan, create that vision, create those smaller steps that accumulate into those bigger accomplishments over time.
Thank you so very much. That's a great response and a great place to kind of wrap up today. We do appreciate Julie's time for coming today. We want to remind you that if you would like to contact her directly, because she is a coach and she can respond and kind of help you as you continue to advance in responding, not reacting to setbacks, please see her contact information below. We want to remind everyone that we do have 2 more sessions coming up. Please look at our website and register for next week's session for the pool. Thank you very much. And thank you once again for coming today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.